Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ Nuki, your girl.
Sierra Nicole.
We're back on the channel with another
Kid and C original.
Welcome back to the channel. Hey, we got what's the brokest thing a guy has ever done. This is part 4. I think we skip part 3. We just gonna put it. We gonna put it in. Hey, can we get what's the brokest thing a girl has ever done? I know there's a lot of stories, but probably folks ain't telling the story because they don't want to embarrass these girls, bro. So it's all good.
I mean,
don't say ladies be doing some bro shit.
have I ever done some bullshit?
Oh no, you tell me.
I'm saying around you.
Again, that's the reason why fellow folks.
Oh my God. I don't think so.
Oh man, so with that being said, before we get into it, make sure y'all check out the links in the description box down below. You already know where to go if you want to further support. Just always check down below. Also, we always got to take this time to salute to the coming of the day, man. We highly appreciate y'all. Y'all keep coming around. Keep showing us love and support. We're going to show y'all love and support as well. And if you enjoyed today's video, lock it in with a thumbs up to let us know. Mm-hmm. But it's what's the brokest thing a guy has ever done. This is going to be our finale. It is what it is. You ready? All right.
Oh, this TikTok was made for me. Okay, this is the last Tinder date I went on before I deleted the app. Okay, so this guy, him and I, we match on Tinder, whatever. He's like, let's go to happy hour. I'm like, yeah. So he calls me and he's like, okay, cool, let's go to NOLA. I'm like, yes, girl. Like, I love NOLA. They have a good happy hour and it's only 12 minutes away. So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. He's like, let's meet at 4 o'clock. I'm like, sweet. So I leave my place at like 3:30 because I had to get gas. So whatever, I'm driving over there, gonna get gas. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be late. And then he texts me at like 3:50 and he's like, something happened with AT&T. Can we push our date to 4:30? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So whatever, I get to the venue early and I was like, I'll text him at 4:20 to let him know that I got us a table in the courtyard. So I text him and I let him know at like 4:20 and he's just like, oh my gosh, you're so early. I'm like, sir, but I really am not. And he's just like, okay, I'm about to jump in the shower. Like, I live right down the street. I'll be there really quick. I'm like, sir. I'm like, okay, whatever. Gets out of the shower, sends me his location and calls me and he's like, I am so sorry how late I am. Like, punctuality is such a huge deal to me. Like, you know what? Start without me. Drinks, food, whatever you want, it's on me. I'm like, duh, like, what? I'm like, okay. So he proceeds to tell me, he's like, yeah, I had to call AT&T because they shut my phone off. I'm like, you not have auto pay? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and my QR code doesn't work. Sir, you chose this venue and you can only pay by QR code. I'm like, that's a little sus. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get this tab started because you aren't about to finesse me. So, whatever. He gets there and he's just like, oh, did you start? He's like, you probably finished your drink already, huh? I'm like, no, I waited for you. And I was like, you can only pay by QR code here. And he's like, oh, but mine doesn't work. I was like, I know. So we're going to use my phone and we're going to put your credit card on my phone. And he's like, okay. And so whatever, like 2 each drinks later, I'm just like, I got to go. Like, let's close this tab out. You guys, his card gets denied on the QR code 2 times. Calls the waiter down. We ask them if he could pay by like whatever, by him swiping his card. His credit card gets denied again, another 3 times. He's like, honestly, like red, like sweating bullets, like super embarrassed. I'm just like, I should have been a good person and offered to pay, but there was way too many red flags that I was like, this guy is totally trying to finesse me. Like, let me just see him get a little spicy armpits going on. So then he had to pull out his debit card, which it went through. This guy literally tried to finesse me out of happy hour drinks. I'm like, sir, no, you chose the wrong one because I'm from the streets.
From the streets.
Man, you gotta send her back to the streets anyway, bro. She trying to put you on blast. Fellas!
No.
Fellas, we need to come to the round table. We need to
Trying
come
to
to the
play.
round table,
No.
fellas.
No.
Fellas, we ain't taking that bullshit no more.
I'm done. You better.
She better pay for the happy hour on the first date. Who came up with these rules?
Yeah, you know.
Know what?
Stop.
You stop. Anime.
Okay, so I was third party to the brokenness, like the abject poverty of this situation, so keep this in mind as we go forward. About 10 years ago, when I was 26, I worked as a sales associate at Kohl's department store. Nothing bad to say, I absolutely loved working at Kohl's. One of the things that I loved most about working at Kohl's was the employee discount, which we could couple with things like Kohl's Cash. It was a Monday, and I happened to have some Kohl's Cash in my pocket because over Thanksgiving weekend, instead of giving you $10 in Kohl's Cash for every $50 you spent, they had given us $15 for every $50 you spent in the store. And I had about $30 in Kohl's Cash in my pocket. And that Monday, there was a sale in the clearance section of the store. All the clearance items were marked an extra 25% off. I had my 25% employees discount, and I had $30 of Kohl's Cash in my pocket. This is important. So a guy comes to my register with his girlfriend. He's got like 5 pairs of shoes, very expensive men's leather dress shoes for himself. And the girl has like, I think like one of the travel size, like the 1 milliliters of perfume for her. And the perfume wasn't even a super expensive brand. It was American Beauty, which is a Kohl's exclusive brand. So they come to my register, I scan everything, and then he looks at her and he's like, babe, you got this? And she very reluctantly, kind of embarrassingly, pulls out her Kohl's charge card and gives it to me. I scan her coupon first, which was for like 15% off, and then I swipe the card, and the card gets declined. And of course, I call the card company up for the reason why, and they're like insufficient funds, and they tell me exactly how much she has on the card, and she was like, I don't know, she was like maybe $15 short of what she needed. He starts berating her, talking about, why do you say we could go shopping if you didn't even know that you didn't have any money, blah, blah, blah. Right. He then tells her, well, you got to put that perfume back. We don't need all that. So she begrudgingly agrees. I remove her perfume from the transaction. We swipe her card again, and everything goes through. But I feel so bad for this woman that I actually take her bottle of perfume, ring it up, put in her coupon of 15% again, and then scan my own Kohl's Cash so that she can get this bottle of perfume. The bottle of perfume was about $25 or $30 to start, but then with the coupon, after I scanned my Kohl's Cash, I had about $5 or $6 left. Tell me why, after all of that, this man puts his hand out for my leftover Kohl's Cash.
What the what? I hope she not with him anymore.
Bro.
Whoever that girl is.
That was funny,
If you
though.
see this, honey, I hope she is not with him.
But 9 times out of 10, the reason why the Kohl's card is maxed out is because of him.
It's because of him.
Because he wants to live a certain lifestyle, lavish lifestyle.
And then you try.
She said he got 5 pairs of shoes too.
5, and then go say
dress shoes.
And then go say she don't need her perfume, but she the one paying for it. I wish, boy.
I do some shit like that.
No, you
Picture it. I was 18. It was my first Tinder date ever. I was going to school downtown Toronto, so I matched with this guy who told me that he lived in a condo at Yonge and Dundas.
Y'all girls always be on Tinder. Being talking about some, let me tell you about this story. Where I was on Tinder. Duh. Duh. Played yourself, fool.
I wasn't really that familiar with like downtown, so the plan was really just kind of wander around. So when I say the bar was on the floor for how much money this date was supposed to cost. So we meet up and he spends basically the whole time talking about how successful he is and how amazing he is and how like he's like, you know, figured out all of life at 20 years old. He's also just like a raging like douchebag and a misogynist. So like I had already checked out. I decided, I'm like, you know what? We've been wandering around for a couple of hours. It's like downtown Toronto in February. I'm cold. So I wanted to grab a cup of coffee, warm up, and then get back on the subway and go home. So we ducked into a second cup. I kind of could tell that because of his horrible vibes, I was probably gonna be paying for my own coffee at that point, and that was fine by me. But I was not prepared for what happened next. The cashier asked him, what do you want? And he said, oh, I'll just have a cup of water. She says, oh, we don't actually do that. We have bottles of water. They're $1. Do you want one? And he goes off on her. Like, no, I don't want a bottle of water. I just want a cup of water. It's just so difficult for you to give me a cup of water, and you should give me a cup of water because she's buying something, and if she wanted a cup of water with her coffee, you'd give it to her, and I'm with her, and she's buying something, so you should give it to me. And I say, my jaw hit the floor. I was so embarrassed. I already knew I was not going to see this guy ever again. Now he has also just like embarrassed me in front of a stranger. But I don't know what I expected, because I should have just left in the beginning. Because when we were talking like on Tinder, he asked me at one point how tall I was, and I said I'm 5'2". He responds with, okay, cool. I'm 5'11". Unprovokedly, I did not ask him how tall he was. He showed up shorter than me. Let me repeat that. I said I was 5'2". He said he was 5'11". I didn't ask. He showed up 5'1". I called him on it. He said he never said that. Yes, I did go back on my phone and check to make sure. And he did say 5'11". And then we're waiting for the subway. He says he's going west, and I was like, why are you going west if we're at Yonge and Bloor and you live at Yonge and Dundas? He says, oh, what are you talking about? I don't live at Yonge and Dundas. I live in Mississauga. And he said, I never said that I have a condo at Yonge and Dundas. And yeah, I scrolled back and he did. I'm like, did I text like a different person? As far as I could tell. As far as I could tell, it was the same person in the profile that I made plans with to come see that day. We're waiting on the subway platform. I'm going east, he's going west. The train came first. Like leans in for a hug, and I tried to give him like an awkward side hug. He grabbed me and like pulled me in and grabbed my face and tried to make me kiss him. Again, guy was 5'1", so I pushed him off. I guess it must have looked pretty violent. It felt pretty violent. It must have looked so because I got on the subway and somebody else that was waiting on the platform got onto the same car as me and then came up to me to ask me if I was okay. The amazing thing is, texted me for like a week straight trying to make plans for like a second date. He really thought that whole thing went well and he made a good impression.
Wow.
I ain't gonna count all these stories, bruh.
That is
y'all
crazy.
fucking yourself up at this point.
That's crazy. Well,
bruh, he told her he 5'11", like he wasn't gonna see her in person.
That ain't her fault. She just out.
No,
here
I'm saying him. I'm saying.
Oh, but yeah, him.
No, I'm saying fellas, y'all fucking yourself.
Oh, you didn't say fellas. I thought you was talking about. I was getting a little defensive.
This question said guy.
But no, but earlier
I'm saying,
you said
no. But what I'm saying
you acting like him.
No, but what I'm saying is, bro, you got mad off of not being able to afford, and then she calls you on your lies every single time, and you still trying to sit here and say, no, I didn't say that. She goes, I didn't say that. Bro, you said you were 5'11", she's 5'2". It's them short man syndrome, man. Damn.
Let's talk about it, black men, because I got receipts. So this story is about a guy who I occasionally message back and forth with on Instagram. There was actually a time I was at this job that I was super depressed at, and I made a post about it, and he said something nice. So it progressed from there, and one day he responded to a post of mine wanting to go out, and he said, let's do it on me. Receipts right here. So when I finally had time, I'm like, hey, I have time this week. Let me know if you're free and when you are, and we can go do something. He's like, oh yeah, we can go out. Where do you want to go? I'm like, oh, we can go to a museum. We can go ride scooters downtown. We can go to the park. We can go out to eat. Really doesn't matter. He's like, all right, I'll meet you downtown at the museum, and then we can just go from there. Now, the first red flag was I was waiting 30 minutes for him to pull up. And my spirit told me to leave then, but I didn't. So when he finally gets there, we go in the museum and we find out that the museum only takes cash. It costs $27 per person, and I'm assuming he already looked this up because he literally pulls out $27 out of his pocket. And so here I am with my Bank of America card like, okay, I guess we can't go in. The museum's already about to close, so it's dead. So now I'm on level 2 pissed. So we go outside and I'm like, well, can we at least ride the scooters? Like, do you have any money on your card to ride the scooter? He's like, oh, how much do you think that's gonna cost? So at this point, I'm like, I've already drove downtown. He has $30. I suggest going to the Mexican restaurant up the street. So we get to the Mexican restaurant and he's constantly asking me if I'm mad. And I'm like, I'm not super mad, but you continuously asking me is making me mad. And he's like, what are you upset about? I'm like, dude, you invited me out and you don't even have enough money to pay for shit. Like, it's frustrating. He's like, well, what made you think that I'm entitled to do anything for you? I'm like, again, you asked me out. He's like, well, I'm just not understanding the entitlement because I have women do things for me. I get flued out. So at this point,
What the fuck he said? Flued out.
He get what? I get flued.
I get flued out. Hey, damn.
I am done.
This was recent too. For him to say flued out.
Fellas,
Don't let me tell you. Don't be out here getting flued out, bruh.
I have women do things for me. I get flued out. So at this point, he's ordered a big fish taco plate and a huge margarita. So I'm like, at this point, I just want to eat my food. And speaking of the food, do you even have enough money for that? This man is like, I didn't want to come here. You suggested coming here. I'm like, bruh, so you ain't got the money? So he gets up, he's like, you know what? Just tell him to send this shit back. And here. I'm like, did he just throw this money at me in this restaurant? Now, mind you, the bill was like $60 and he barely had $30. So I had to come out of pocket for the bill. I'm thinking this man left. No, he's outside waiting for me once I pay the tab, and he's still cussing me out all the way until I leave the parking lot.
All this, you talking to me, but you made this shit clear. It was about the food and me just taking you out. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? I was really just trying to get to know you and shit like that.
The city is my palace.
If you've ever dated a cheap person, you know why you'll never date one again. In my last year of college, I started dating this guy. I was working full-time at the time and a full-time student. He was not working, but he had money saved up from his finance internship in New York the summer before. Regardless, because he wasn't working, I was paying for stuff for him all the time. He convinced me to buy him a flight to visit my family in San Diego from Boston. Never took me on dates. If we went on dates, we were splitting it. We both moved to New York, not for each other, but for our career. He's working in finance, making probably 10 or 15K more than me. One weekend, my first weekend in New York, I go out with one of my best girlfriends from work. We have the best time. I'm really sensitive to alcohol, so I'm violently hungover in the morning. He's been blowing my phone up all night, all morning. He wants to come over. I'm like, yeah, come over, but could you bring me Gatorade and saltines? I'm like really sick, throwing up. He brings me the Gatorade and saltine, and on his way out of my house that day, he Venmo charged me $9 for the Gatorade and saltine. That was the end of that.
Tell me you're a mom.
No, he did. No, he did. $9.
You gonna pay me for this Gatorade and these saltines, bruh.
I'm done.
Bruh. The
That's
other
crazy.
dude, though,
Yeah, the one before that one.
she said, hey, that's y'all choosing and picking. Y'all be choosing and picking the wrong ones and then be trying to hold all of us accountable. That's their shortcomings. You came up in the world. Oh. I'm just playing, bro. But hey, y'all got to do better at picking.
Facts. Definitely.
Just because he like a pose, and that's the thing. Like majority of the ones who ain't afraid to be like, I'm gonna comment on the shit, and I'm gonna make it known. Most of them be the lames though. The ones who got the Chelsea boots with the straight, y'all be like, ooh, they swag. They broke. Them Chelsea boots came from the Goodwill, and them. They ain't go for thrift shopping. They went because they couldn't afford nothing else.
Come on, baby.
But with that being said, y'all spam us up in the comment section down below. Let us know what else we should react to next so we can bring it over here for y'all, man. But as always, I do go by the name DJ Nikki. This is
Here in the top.
We Are.
Kid and
We are,
Cee.
y'all.
Ain't no time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partner.